From day one, I was an exuberant, positive kid. I was surrounded by an extremely supportive family. I absolutely loved school. By junior high, I had made it my mission to join every club that was offered. And when there were things I wanted to do, but there wasn't a club with this mission, I even started a few of my own. When high school began, this trend continued. I was able to travel to Nicaragua to embark on service work. I made varsity in all 3 sports I played and continued to receive the high marks I always had. But there was another side of me, a side that I kept hidden. I supported others in breaking their silence about their mental illness, but I realized that I myself had been imprisoned by this silence. Excuses like a doctor's appointment, when really I was going to therapy, or explaining a cat clawed my wrist when the marks were actually a product of a late-night panic, made my life easier in the moment. Not having to explain myself over and over again, or deal with the awkward and terrified reaction that would manifest in my teachers, peers, or family's faces if I revealed the truth. I am tired of these lies, and I am tired of playing into the stigma of mental illness. I am ready to break the silence. I struggle with anxiety and depression. Depression makes it hard to feel anything and leaves me feeling empty and lonely. Nothingness. Sometimes that is better than feeling every emotion at once, though, which is what happens when my mind is overwhelmed by anxiety. Last year, along with dealing with these symptoms, I was overcome by confusion, frustration, and embarrassment. I constantly asked myself, how could I, someone who grew up the way I did, be suffering or have anything to complain about? I was ashamed to tell anyone how dark I felt, with the worry they would wonder the same thing. It got to the point where what I feared most wasn't the dark place I was in. What I feared most was that my family wouldn't understand, that I'd lose my friends, that I'd be written off as crazy or incapable. Instead of reaching out for the help I so desperately needed, I put on a mask, and it worked. I'd slap on a smile and get through the day. Between the reputation of the perfectly happy girl I was trying my best to maintain, and my own self-appointed stigma that someone like me couldn't possibly be mentally ill, I kept my struggles neatly managed and hidden from the people closest to me. But I didn't always have enough energy to put the mask on. For example, last spring, after a particularly hard morning, I was walking down the hallway with my school social worker with tears streaming down my face. In an attempt to make me feel better, a teacher of mine, coming the other way, smiled and said, "Don't worry, she'll get over it. She's smart." We've created this stigma where it's socially acceptable to ask for help when you're physically ill, but when your mind needs help, it's really best to bury it. Leave it hidden. Pretend the problem doesn't exist. I tried so hard to snap out of it or just be happy, but ultimately, trying just isolated and exhausted me even more. On April 1st of last year, I woke up in a hospital bed. It was no April Fool's joke. From the deep gashes on my wrist, to the chunks of hair missing from my head, to my destructive plans of suicide, I could not keep myself safe. How did this happen? How did I end up here? I've grown up with the world at my fingertips, access to an incredible education, an intact, supportive family, and a curious, positive outlook on life. But that didn't make me immune. What I've learned is that mental health does not care who we are, how we were raised, or where we are from. About a year and a half ago, I attended TEDx at Cape Elizabeth High School. One of the talks, titled Hope Happens, truly lit a fire in my heart. Julia Hansen told her story of losing her 2 best friends to suicide while simultaneously struggling with her own depression. Julia culminated by explaining how even in the darkest of times, she managed to find hope. Her words rang true to me and gave me strength. However, I had no idea I would see Julia again, let alone be so deeply impacted by her and the organization she founded, the Yellow Tulip Project. YTP has helped me to better understand my own depression and anxiety and has brought so much hope and light into my life. I am now an active ambassador at my school and on the YTP Board of Directors. Our mission is simple: create a platform to smash the stigma surrounding mental illness and help people who are struggling feel less alone. In 2 years, the Yellow Tulip Project has jumped from a sweet and approachable Facebook page with a simple, hopeful message to a passionate, engaged nonprofit active in over 40 schools and communities across New England. Now, more than ever, as suicide is becoming more and more prevalent, especially among teens, It is crucial for leaders to step up and take action. We have avoided talking about mental illness for so long, and because of that, it is awkward and scary and challenging, but it is also courageous. Kindness and community are central to the Yellow Tulip Project's mission. Words can hurt, but they can also heal. We need to be there for one another. If you think you know someone who is struggling, just talk to them. It's as simple as that. Be candid and inclusive and honest. Sometimes just one act of kindness can make all the difference to a person. Before becoming a part of the Yellow Tulip Project, I was constantly walking around believing that everyone else was perfectly happy and normal, wishing I wasn't the only one who had to struggle with mental illness. But what I've realized is, when you start the conversation, others will follow. An incredibly powerful example of starting the conversation is the I Am More Facing Stigma exhibit that was created by the Yellow Tulip Project. Faces of 22 courageous individuals with 6 I am statements, each showing they are much more than their mental illness. I am Alison. I am 16 years old. I am a part of Seeds of Peace. I am an athlete. I am an advocate. I am dealing with depression and anxiety, but I found hope. While Julia and I have profoundly different experiences, I'm hoping by sharing my story in the honest and genuine way Julia did, I will touch someone, even if it's just one person, in the way that Julia touched me. Our goal is to start a ripple effect. I will end with the wise words of inspirational speaker Ilana Van Zant. Your story will heal you, and your story will heal somebody else. When you tell your story, you free yourself and give other people permission to acknowledge their own story. Thank you.